In this episode, I'm going to cover compiling permutations for the clients. I'm going to show how GXT compiles 48 permutations to start with, or around that depending on the configuration. Then I'll optimize the build by building less permutations by collapsing properties in the module configuration. So to get started, I'm going to go to my application. I'm going to show how it builds 48 permutations to start with. And the way I'll do that is I'll initialize a compiler by launching it by going debug as and selecting the GXT compiler. Okay, to start with, it'll start a compiling process, and this is the default method, so I'm going to open up the module on the left while it's compiling and show that I have just a basic configuration that I used to create this project. And by the way, I don't need this XSI frame anymore, so I'm going to delete it. It's on by default. Okay, the compiler has started compiling the 48 permutations. Well, I'm not going to complete this process because I'll just go to the next phase and show you how I can compile with less permutations and how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to click on Stop the compiling process. And what I want to do next is go to the permutations guide, and I'll include the link to this guide in the video description. So I'm going to go to the permutations guide, which I already have loaded in the browser. And I'm going to scroll down, and there's a facts section which describes how to lessen the permutations. So I'm going to copy this, collapse all properties for fewer permutations. Copy. And I'm going to go to the IDE, and I'm going to paste this in at the bottom. And I'll review these attributes here in a second. So what I have here to start with is device, GXT device. And I'm going to collapse it, the phone and tablet, into the desktop. Then I have GXT theme. I'm going to collapse the blue and gray together. And then I have the modern browsers. And then I have the GXT user agent. So I'm going to collapse all these properties into one because it's basically all the modern browsers. And the user agent, which is the GXT user agent. And I'm going to collapse Safari and Gecko. Then I'm going to collapse all the IE8, 9, and 10 into one, and the user agent, all the IEs into one. So let's run this. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it to see how many permutations it compiles next. So I'm going to restart the compiler by going up to the debug icon and selecting my GXT project here. Okay, it looks like I have an error, and so I'm not using the gray theme, I'm using the Triton. So I'm not going to have to collapse these. If I were using blue or gray, I would want to collapse them. So if I restart the process, let's see how it works. Okay, there it goes. It's starting to compile, and this time there's 14 permutations. Well, there's one thing I could do is add compile reports, which I did in the previous episode to show me how the permutations are being evaluated. Well, I'm not going to go in greater detail in this episode other than that the permutations by default expand or explode to many more permutations, and the goal with that is to build the smallest permutation for the client using the application at the time. One more thing to consider I forgot to mention is if you're using many languages, you may want to collapse your languages together into one file. So that concludes how to limit the amount of permutations that are built for your GXT application. So thanks for watching. Follow me for more tips and tricks on GXT, and I'll catch you later.